You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel. So we're going to be joined with our regular visitor Ian Goodwin, but this time he's here on behalf of the Royal British Legion. Ian, as always, it's good to speak to you. If you could just sort of introduce yourself to start us off with.
Hi, well, thank you very much, Daniel, for allowing me to come on here to talk a bit about the Poppy Appeal launch. I'm not actually the chairman anymore. A colleague of mine is actually taken over. I've done about 5 years there, but I did say I would actually do the launch on BRFM. And basically, each year the nation shows its support for our work through the Poppy Appeal. And every poppy helps us to support the British Armed Forces, past and present, and their families. And we need your help all year, not just in November. So please give generously and wear your poppy with pride. Just to give you a little bit about the Poppy Appeal for Daniel and for your listeners. I mean, each year the nation expresses its unequivocal support for the Royal British Legion's work through the Poppy Appeal. And the appeal is the Legion's biggest fundraising campaign. And I think last year, we're talking circa £45 million were raised, and that's through about 48 million poppies that are actually produced. So, every poppy helps us to support the British Armed Forces, past and present, and their families. So, again, please give generously and wear your poppy with pride. The people sometimes ask me, Daniel, about the history of the Poppy Appeal, and it was first suggested as a symbol of remembrance in 1918 and was actually adopted by the American Legion in 1920. And it wasn't until 1921 that the British Legion adopted it and the first Poppy Appeal was born. I mean, in essence, these poppy seeds, they're quite prolific if you leave them in the ground. What happened is the bombs were all blown up and stirred up all the mud. All the poppies were actually disturbed, all the seeds, and these were created fields of poppies, and that's where it all sort of came from. And when we're going back to 1921, Daniel, the first appeal raised £106,000, and that's nearly £30 million in today's term. And all the poppies were supplied from France. And in 1922, the poppy factory was established in the UK to keep costs down and employing disabled ex-servicemen employed disabled ex-servicemen to make the poppies. And it's important to note that the poppies were sold when the appeal started, but charity legislation now requires them to be distributed in return for donations. If you do get the opportunity, and people do actually offer the opportunity to do a gift aid, please do that, because we do get tax back on all donations. And the last thing I just wanted to say to you and your listeners is that the Sheerness Branch Poppy Appeal launch will be on Saturday, the 28th of October at the Holy Trinity Church, Sheerness. We start at 11 o'clock, but if you can be there, sort of, if you want to come to the service and see the crosses being done in the memorial garden, then you really need to be there by about 11:15. So that's, just to reiterate, that's Saturday the 28th of October at the Holy Trinity Church, Sheerness. And just to make the point, Daniel, we on the Isle of Sheppey, we are the Isle of Sheppey branch now. We have combined everyone into one organisation, one branch on the island. And last year, everyone gave so generously. We had the best year we've ever had. And we actually raised £20,000 from this island, which is a marvellous thing to do. And you'll see people out and about. They'll be in the local supermarket collecting money for the poppies everywhere. And we hope that people will give generously. So thank you very much, Daniel, for inviting me on to enable me to do this Poppy Appeal launch.
No, it's always good to catch up with you and speak to you, and it's really good to be able to cover the Poppy Appeal this year. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you then, Daniel. Thank you.